The bans are going to be for Ex Nihilo and Mouse Sports. Now swapping up onto the blue side will be Ex Nihilo. We'll give them the first ban and the first pick, but the counter pick goes to Mouse. And where will they throw it? Where is the most important lane to give that counter pick to?
That's a good question. I kind of always feel mid lane. And I can't... If you got the opportunity to kind of pick mid, I mean, yes, you end up having these neutralized lanes where they kind of have just mid lanes that just farm. So, I don't know. Sometimes you can't counter pick mid so much. I guess the kind of ability to counter pick with that reasoning has kind of fallen off. But let's get back to that later, because Diana has been banned away from Godbro. Another player we saw at the Nordic Open, actually, just has been playing a whole bunch of Diana.
So, Mouse banned this yesterday against Godzuki. So they'll do the same today, and they're respecting it a lot, but we'll see if that actually works out for them. So Johnny is actually going to be banned against Dan as well.
The interesting thing about the Diana ban is it's very similar to Echo. We've been kind of expecting Godbro to pick up the Echo, which has more utility than Diana, a little bit trickier to play, but a Diana and an Azir banned away from Godbro, and yet they're leaving Echo up yet. Still, that's a really weird one for now. It's making my English go all weird. It's been a funny day today. Also, the Sejuani ban, obviously wanting to get away from Dan from the engages in the teamfight, but that's two junglers now prioritized from the bans here from Ex Nihilo. So they either have to first pick the Rek'Sai or look to first pick the Echo now and get Godbro onto something that is a very similar playstyle to what's been banned.
But is Echo really something you want to first pick? Because we've seen counters in the LCS.
We've also seen the Flex Echo as well, where it could be top, could be mid, jungle, could be mid. Ryze is available here as well. Kalista now off the board. Sivir, I would imagine somebody is going to prioritize during this picks and bans. Rek'Sai is the next strongest jungler that's available. There is so much open. Ex Nihilo have to decide what they want as their first pick, and then give Maus two of the other strong picks at this point.
All right, Rek'Sai locked in.
Okay.
So that is going to be Ex Nihilo's first pickup. What are the responses from Maus? Because they have the Ryze available. They have the Echo available if Sayo wants it. Not sure if it's in his playbook, but I mean, Ryze, he's pretty much 100% pickle ban in the LCS right now.
Yeah, he pretty much is, and I would be surprised if we didn't see him in this game. Honestly, though, at this point, Dan is left in a little bit of a problem with regards to his junglers. Other than the Sejuani, Dan has always, to me, been known as an earlier game jungler. You look at the likes of a Lee Sin. So with Rek'Sai not available, Gragas not available, now his next options are the Lee Sin, the Evelynn would be the standard next tier of junglers, but they don't even prioritize it because they know they don't have to yet. So they pick up their bottom lane early on in this picks and bans.
So they secure the Sivir, they secure the Janna as well, so it gives them a composition where they can both disengage with the Janna and also the Sivir ultimate and engage as well. So yeah, they're not going to be hurting on that front. Ex Nihilo though, they have the next two picks to come out. Remember, Echo is still on the board if they want it, but Ryze is kind of the bigger fish at the moment.
So at this point, what do we see? 80 carry prioritization coming out from Ex Nihilo. There's not all that much left. We know Crazy Caps is a Jinx player, likes the scaling 80 carries, but with Sivir picked up, Kalista not available, and Urgot not having a particularly safe matchup, now we're going to the likes of the Corki, the Lucian, the Vayne that we're seeing, but it's actually not going to be the 80 carry picked up. Echo slipped through the first rotation and has been locked in, likely for Godbro at this point.
Yeah, interesting. So, most likely Godbro. Last time I said it was a mid lane champion, it actually went to Kuban.
This one I'm a little bit more certain on.
Yeah.
It's a Godbro champion.
I think so too, but let's not count our chickens before they've hatched.
I guess so. Yeah. But we should be counting our chimes. That is what we should be counting throughout this game, is because Bard has been picked up. Bard, Echo as a combination are very good at facilitating each other when it comes to Bard ultimate into Echo jumping in, get the catch from the parallel convergence as well. So a lot of utility between those two picks, and I'm excited to see how the likely pairing of Noxiac and Godbro are going to do with this setup.
Yeah, me too. And now looking at Mouse, they only have a couple seconds remaining, and Sayo's going to go full Sankux and pick up the Twisted Fate in the mid lane. And that's going to be a Zac as well into the jungle, seeing a return of Zac. Nice. Okay,
Zac's not a tier 1 or theoretical tier 2 jungle. If you would really to split them up, you got Gragas Rek'Sai. Today is not good.
I mean,
today is not good. Gragas Rek'Sai normally are the top tier junglers. Then you go down to like the likes of Evelynn, Nidalee, Nunu, Sejuani, Lee Sin. Zac is so difficult. Has to now survive through the early game against a Rek'Sai. That is a tough task in itself. And now you're looking at team fights against a highly mobile and highly utility-based team like an Echo, like a Bard. The Twisted Fate on the other side of things should be able to lock down Echo with the gold card. Stop a little of his mobility, but still you have to deal with the chrono break of him just kind of jumping jumping around team fights.
But what the Zac does do is bring in the interesting mechanic of going for those early dives and going into the passive, and we just have a Vayne lock in. We saw Candy Panda play that very recently in the LCS, did very well with it, and also the Shen as well. So should be for the top lane.
So the reason that I'm kind of a little surprised by this isn't because of the champions, because each one of these champions has been played in these roles in the LCS, but very rarely do we see this as one stacked up with each other. Shen, Echo, Rek'Sai, Bard, Vayne is not a composition we've seen at all in the LCS particularly. So Shen gonna have the ability to have that double global with his ultimate, with his teleport, will protect the Vayne. Echo will be able to zone people in the fights with the Bard as well. So this is a very tricky composition to pull off, but it's kind of like an almost protect the Vayne kind of setup when you've got the Bard and the Shen. It's a lot more tricky than just picking two standard support style champions. And now you've got two late game threats from Nilo in the way of Echo and Vayne.
And the last pickup actually from Mao's, before we skim over that, was the Maokai to go into the Shen. The interesting thing about the Shen is it always feels like an answer to the Twisted Fate pick. So that when Twisted Fate goes somewhere, you have the Shen to follow him afterwards with his own ultimate, and then still have the teleport to follow Maokai. So it seems like an interesting adaptation if that was the case, unless they were like, all along they wanted Shen, Rek'Sai, Echo, Vayne, Bard.
Maybe they did. Picking Vayne into a Twisted Fate.
I really am intrigued by this setup from Nilo.
Well, let's see how it works out, Stress, as we are about to get into our final game of the day between Nilo and Mouse Esports. And yeah, Nilo, nice. Good job, Bard. Onto the blue side.
And it's that Bard lane that I kind of want to talk about. I'm expecting Crazy Caps and Noxiac to want to 2v2 against Cedrian and Mountain at this point. Vayne into Sivir. You tend to just want to take fairly straight up. So at this point, Mouse right now will likely look to dodge it, I would imagine, but they are looking to just fan out. It is kind of difficult with the Janna there. It does affect the lane quite a lot, but Bard on Noxiac should kind of even that up for Nilo.
It's been a while since we've seen the straight up lines of scrimmage. Usually someone is doing at least something in the early game, but this time everyone is going to find a counterpart in the same place. Impaler will find Dan floating, being a balloon. Godzuki in the mid lane. Of course, Godbro was his previous name. On his Echo this time around. Definitely suits him down to a T. And he'll be going for the flash start, which is pretty standard. He just wants to survive for the early game, and Sayo is going to put down a lot of harass onto Echo.
Yeah, I really just want this game to... I want to be 5 minutes later into this game. See how it picked up. I know we've got to, go through the laborious process of time. It's, we're not time traveling in this one, even though we do have Echo. So 4 seconds isn't quite 5 minutes. Like but Genja. I want to see how this game ends up, and I'm really dying to get there. But we're not going to get that quite yet. Because Nilo, it looks like they're not going to be able to get the 2v2 that they were looking for. Mouse will swap that up, and the Sivir Janna is going to be able to push so much faster than the Vayne Bard. And actually that's one problem that Nilo in general are going to have, is their ability to push is fairly limited. They have Vayne, who doesn't have the most amount of wave clear. Echo has some. Shen is quite slow to wave clear. So it's going to be tricky for Nilo to get in front of towers without Mouse making a mistake.
Well, right here, Binsu is going to go for the double jungle. Noxiac is coming in here just to be a nuisance more than anything. Put down the meat harass, gets the cosmic binding against the wall into Binsu, just reducing the health bars and healthiness of those two tanky players as they move throughout their jungle. And Noxiac pretty much achieved what he had to. I mean, there's no reason for him to be down at bot lane right now with Crazy Cap just solo farming. Top lane, though, is Sejin and Mountain going up against Zazas. He'll be fairly happy just to farm under turret, but of course he's going to be behind, along with Binsu, as he's not double jungling, unlike Binsu.
Yeah, Zazas is in that lane on his own. Not really going to be able to do all that much until it does push in, but one thing's for certain. Janna shouldn't be able to zone Zazas all that much. It depends on where the lane ends up setting up for Zazas. If Janna comes out and just starts to auto-attack him a little bit, Zazas might get scared here and not actually return, but you can see that he doesn't take all that much damage.
He is Shen after all. He has also gone for the Duran shield. Binsu and Dan heading into the top lane. Can he execute this dive?
And this is one of the issues with having your solo laner stay there. Yes, he now knows this is coming, so he has to back away. But there is no way that Nilo can be pushing as fast as Mouse can. So Mouse now go for the 4 people on the turret, and they know Nilo can't answer this, because Shen is just in the lane doing absolutely nothing. Yes, he got experience from it, but that's about it. Mid lane, though.
Oh, magical journey into the kill in mid lane. First blood goes over to Godzuki. That was so well played by EXN.
And that's what EXN can do in return for their tower going down. Kill for a tower, you have to feel like MOUZ will not be too unhappy with that, but that is an early first kill onto Seu. Didn't actually use any summoners, though, in that gank mid for MOUZ, so it was just the kill going over to them.
Also in the fan vote, it was 55% EXN, so actually going either way this time around, even though it was very even between these two teams. And I feel like this series, or this game rather, is going to be much more even than the ones we've seen previously. EXN at least has had a lot of time to read out MOUZ and their game plans.
We were expecting the previous game to be a lot closer than it ended up being as well, though.
Also
so I was a little surprised by that, but I certainly agree that this game should be a fairly close one between the two. Even though MOUZ own a 3-0 record over EXN, that still kind of feels weird to say, but it's something that we're just going to have to kind of just go with, because that MOUZ are looking a lot stronger right now, and they really seem to have shored up their lineup from the lineup last year, last split, that seemed to only be able to win with Teemo.
That's true. That brings some memories back. Sayo in the mid lane getting harassed comboed by Godzuki. Just the time winder in with the phase dive, and usually an auto is enough to get that triple tap from the passive to get the extra damage down, but in the early game, Godzuki's not going to be blowing up targets quite as much as he is later into the game. Mountain going on a warding expedition. The bot lane from EXN is still just heading back to lane. In terms of CS and how all the lane swappage has gone, Crazy Caps is actually lagging a little bit behind in terms of farm, but there is a wave heading towards him. Mid lane, Godzuki is actually leading up against Sayo, mainly because of that kill onto Sayo, so that meant he wasn't farming for a while. Top lane, Zazas is slightly ahead, but nothing to write home about just yet. More importantly, he's frozen the wave, so Beansu is going to find it hard to get some farm.
Yes, and Beansu with no teleport as well is going to struggle to have any impact over the next couple of minutes. Whereas Zazas, yes, he's not quite 6, but he has his teleport available, and when he is 6, that Stand United will be up as well. Dan has had a fairly quiet start to this game because of the fact that it has been a lane swap. Impaler hasn't really been able to pressure Dan out of his jungle all that easily. Now Godbro steps under the turret. Ooh, gold card went onto the cannon minion, but I honestly don't think that Sayo was looking for the full trade there. Godbro is level 6, Sayo isn't. Dan is waiting over the wall. Maybe they're trying to bait Godbro under the turret for a dive. I feel like Godbro should be aware this is happening, but you can see him desperately trying to abuse this level 6 advantage.
Yeah, he wants it, but Dan knows it. He's only level 4 though. Dan has been looking for a lot of gank opportunities and not really been paying off, while Impaler has just been farming. And that means he's level 5 against level 4 from Dan.
And this double global setup, or I guess triple if you include teleport on it as well, for EXN is going to be difficult for the MOUZ lineup to deal with, because they basically have to force fights for the MOUZ lineup. You have to get down into the fight, and if he's under-leveled, they're going to struggle to do that. And Noxiac is going to be able to set up fights himself using his ultimate. That's another global that I kind of swept over on the global statement. So EXN have a lot of cross-map pressure, and now Dan has been caught out. Impaler takes away the Raptors.
Yep, just getting in the face of Dan. Knows he can't really fight back. Mountain will get stunned up briefly by Noxiac and Crazy Caps. Nice thing about this lane is, like, once you land a Condemn or Cosmic Binding, the other one's sure to hit. Unless the Cosmic Binding against a minion, in which case there is no wall. But Sayo now going into this blue buff, taking that away, will allow him to clear out those waves very nicely in the mid lane. And again, we're finding ourselves in a pretty slow game. A lot of these teams are just taking it slow, waiting for mistakes to happen, or clearly reading what their defined goals are, and not just fighting randomly. You
raise a really good point with the whole Condemn Cosmic Binding thing, because that actually now makes it almost impossible for MOUZ to take a magical journey that EXN put down, because as soon as you go through, you get bound into the wall, condemned into the wall, and if there wasn't enough damage on you already, you're pretty much dead at the end of that. So that's I mean, it's, you never really follow a magical journey that you don't know what's the other side of it anyway.
Yeah.
But it just means another time where MOUZ have to be a little bit careful on what exactly they're doing on the map. again, though, we're having a fairly slow opening to the game. And a lot of it is to do with the fact that these lane swaps have forced Dan to be slightly underleveled. He's not able to get into the lanes all that easily. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why Zach can be problematic. And there's a unique interaction that bot lane you might not always kind of realize. So if Bard Cosmic Binding's a Sivir, and you spell shield the initial binding, the second part of the binding still detects a hit onto a second target. You just saw it happen in the bottom lane. So supports will get baited by this all the time as you step forward, spell shield, and still get stunned on the second one. It just prevents the stun on the first. The same actually happens with Dark Binding. If the Dark Binding is broken by the time the second target gets hit, you will still stun the first target of the Cosmic Binding.
Wow.
Yeah. Bard mechanics. Crepo in the office is teaching us all. I'm pretty sure I got it. If not, Crepo will yell at me. But I know there's a lot of these nuances he's been talking about, and trying to keep track of all of them is certainly difficult.
There's a lot to him for sure. There's a lot to a lot of the new recent releases. Echo, of course, is W. Seems to do a million things in one. Dan here will be taking the crab.
And speaking of the river, I do look forward to Tam Kench as well as
the River King.
He was shown to us yesterday, but I do have a question about Tam Kench to deter from the game ever so slightly.
I'm not sure I have an answer.
Yeah, well, we'll wait on it. It's not all that important. But if an Echo kills the River King, does that make Echo the boy who shattered Tam?
Oh man, that's awful. But Beansu in the top lane, clearing out these minions, went for the trades with Zaz's, but it is just two tanks ultimately hitting each other, which doesn't result in a whole lot of action. But Zayo in the mid lane, still farming away. He's actually falling further and further behind Godzuki, despite that initial kill. So Godzuki's kind of gone over the hump where he struggles in the early game, but scrap that for a second because Impaler is getting right on top of Beansu. Flash and dash, gets onto the Maokai. Impaler just needs to get the next knock-up on this one. Lands the Prey Seeker, Godzuki closing in from the top side, lands the Parallel Convergence, gets the stun down as well, and ultimately the tree will be slain. But Mals are responding with the Dragon.
Xnilo even gave the kill to Godbro. What Beansu tried to do there, so twisted advance and become untargetable as it locked. Bard Ultimate has prevented this ever so slightly, but I don't think the response is going to come fast enough for Xnilo. So nice attempt by Noxiac to just slow down the Mao's lineup, but wasn't to be. So first Dragon of the game goes over to Mao's in favor, in exchange for the kill from Xnilo.
Yeah, Xnilo with those two kills. However, there was a tower over to Mouse from that initial push. So in terms of Golden, not that far behind. Parallel Convergence, down over the wall. Tries to get the stun down onto Mr. Godzuki. Doesn't quite land it. Yesterday it was very effective with the Sejuani, but not quite had the same impact on Zac just yet. But he's going to be relevant as an initiator throughout the rest of the game.
This Twisted Fate matchup is not working out.
Ooh, and the reverse of the Time Winder does way more damage than on the way out. In fact, a lot of the damage is on the way back. So yeah, Zayo will have to go back to base himself, and that will mean that Dan will soak up all of that lovely experience and gold from the mid lane. Impaler up to the top side lane. He might be able to go for this dive.
They might be looking for it at this point. Dan has his ultimate, so it's a little tricky to do, and that's going to be the turret going down. But this mid lane CS difference has really opened up. And remember, Godbro picked up the Echo first in picks and bans. The Twisted Fate was the response, and Sayu just hasn't really done anything with the Twisted Fate yet. He hasn't really ulted at all this game. Not really been out on the map to other lanes, and Xnilo are just gradually getting further and further ahead because of it.
True, but Mouse can also focus out the Dragon as their main objective in this game. So they just might play the extremely slow game of taking every single Dragon, which we've seen before and has also been very effective in some games. But Xnilo, they can snowball this advantage that you just mentioned, and this game will close out. In terms of the farm, again, mid lane is still drawing ahead. Bot lane is slightly in favor of Sejuan, which is kind of to be expected because of the matchup and how easy it is to farm with Sivir. Crazy Cap's on his way to the Blade of Rune King, while Sejuan going for the standard Infinity Edge.
So, blue buff going over to Godbro, and now we'll see what he can do with it. I'm actually a little bit surprised that Crazy Caps isn't punishing this Sivir matchup any more than he is. It's tends to be a matchup that Crazy Caps should be doing well in, but they've been caught out a bit with trades of Ex-Nihilo, but now top lane, Impala is going to turn his attention. Xaxis is up here as well, and Beansu doesn't know about this gank yet. Use the sapling in lane, so not checking the bush with it. Taunt comes through.
There's the knock-up, there's the Twisted Advance, and there's
It's a
knockback,
Maokai, though.
and I'm Maokai.
But
Godzuki,
here's
though,
the
coming
echo.
into the top lane. This might seal the deal. Zayu comes in, though, tries to get the damage onto Xaxis, gets the stun card down, and Beansu was able to get out.
Really nice hold there from Beansu. The fact that Sayu showed up just meant that Godbro had to respect the tower damage and the Twisted Fate damage, and they couldn't really dive in. Didn't have the cooldowns available to pick up Beansu. Impala was looking to see if he could pick somebody off around the side, but this siege is on this turret, and it is a 2v2 now. Impala has fallen back. Godbro is in a situation where it's only himself, and now Crazy Caps cannot clear this bottom lane either. So Maus are looking to push. That's a lot of damage down from the Boomerang Blade.
Yeah, and that's enough for Crazy Caps to say, screw this, I'm out. I'm just going to back away and take Krugs instead. And bottom tower goes over to Maus, so they once again lead in turrets. Noxiac is coming back into his lane and saying, where's my turret? What happened while I was gone? And Crazy Caps is still farming. But he is Vayne, so later this game goes on, he is going to outscale Sivir in terms of raw damage. In terms of utility, however, Zayu still has his ultimate, so it's like you were saying in Champions Select Stress, they have an answer to Crazy Caps no matter really how big he gets.
In theory. We saw Team Dignitas just do the same kind of thing, where it's just completely shut down one of the carries of their opponents using the Twisted Fate, but Sayu is behind himself in this game, even opting for the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, looking for extra wave clear, that cooldown on his ultimate as well to get lower, but doesn't have the most amount of damage right now. He's got Lichbane with no damage to add to it, and just cooldown boots. He's going to need a damage source from somewhere.
And it's going to take some time. Both teams are just waiting for items, waiting for objectives to spawn, waiting for things to happen, and just farming in the meantime. It is the right play, just maybe not the most interesting one to watch. Dragon, 1 minute on the clock here, so that might spark some action. Noxiac and Crazy Caps in the bottom lane, just trying to take this turret. All they want is one in return. Cedrian will not get stunned up, will be spell shielding that one. Crazy Caps get the crit though. The Avarice Blade, value.
Yeah, really adding value to it. But this bottom lane, you can just see that it's not quite comfortable for Ex-Nihilo yet. They need some more time for themselves to actually feel comfortable in this lane. Interesting, actually, that Avarice Blade was picked up by Cedrian, because while it will delay the first item spike from the Infinity Edge, it will give her a faster second item spike, which against Vayne you'd expect Sivir to have just more overall damage that early in the game. So this is going to kind of accelerate the pace at which Maus are going to push this game to team fights ever so slightly. Now Sayu realized he was under pressure from the parallel convergence, and Godbro can't quite connect.
Doesn't seem like the most effective tactic when Echo just yells at his opponent, watch out! And it's just like, oh yeah, thanks dude. I guess I'll just run away from your parallel convergence.
Good guy, Echo.
Sivir does the same thing. Better duck. Alright.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the shout when she ults.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think that's called a war cry. I think that's like meant to be an intimidating thing. I don't really think it's like a, hey, you should be careful here, but speaking of being careful, Dan has to be careful around this dragon area, as Ex-Nihilo don't quite have vision control 100%. There is one right on the dragon they've not quite got rid of. Now Xaxis, I expect, is going to look to fall back, to look to ultimate into this fight. If he can deny the teleport here from Beansu, this could be huge, but he doesn't.
Oh, both the teleports come in though, which will be more effective. Xaxis gets knocked back by the Zac ultimate. Impala is deep, but the ultimate from Noxiac basically locks down the whole fight, so everyone just takes a time out. Beansu is getting blasted down, but so is Xaxis, and the double kill comes in for Cedrian, but he's getting annihilated by Godzuki. He'll flash away to live for another day, and Beansu's going to be on the receiving end of that damage now. A 2-for-1 over
Magical
to Maus.
Journey.
Magical Journey. Who's going to take it?
Nobody wants that one. Nobody wants that Magical Journey. Noxiac was like, hey guys, I've got this. But then they look at their health bars and
Like,
it's
maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. As that team fight, so EXN didn't end up picking up the dragon from it, and MOUs end up pretty much better off after the team fight when you look at things. But I want to take another look at the fight itself, because this was actually a steal from Dan. I didn't catch that the first time it happened, so Dan already showing up out of the jungle, and Pele is normally the one to secure things with the smite himself. Here's the timeout that you were talking about. 5 people locked up in the Tempered Fate, and at this point, Godbro hasn't yet turned on his damage because he gets the lineup from Sayu and Cedrian. Still even has his Zhonya's available, but he's too low on mana to get himself back into this fight, even with that magical journey. Bottom lane, Sayu.
Crazy Cats, he goes for the flash, but Dan's there with Mountain, so the aggressive flash from the AD carry. Even in that situation, if you secure that 1 kill, you're still Vayne, and there is a lot of crowd control on Mouse, so not entirely sure if that was worth either way, and in this case, definitely not worth.
Yeah, Crazy Caps just couldn't finish off Sayu, and his Play the Rune King active wasn't available either, so we kind of had to just close the distance somehow. Chose to use the flash on that one, but it's a little problematic that Crazy Caps won't have his flash, because here's Dan.
Oh, lands the slingshot. Noxiac has lined up a magical journey. Mountain will go through, but so will Dan. Everyone takes the magical journey, and he gets the lockup with the Tempered Fate onto Cedric and Sayu. Dan and Mountain, though, should have enough damage to lock out and kill Noxiac. Yes, they do. 2-0, despite a valiant attempt at an escape.
That was a very ambitious magical journey, the other side of the lane for Crazy Caps there. You can see the magical journey in the distance, but sadly, no journey for Crazy Caps. And as you said, that flash is going to be integral, and I'm pretty sure Sayu just was thinking, okay, well, I'll lose most of my health on that little trade. We got a flash, and now we're just going to go and gank for it. And that's exactly what MOUs end up doing, and it pays dividends for them, because that's 1 kill where Vayne's flash has only just been down. Now you've got another 2.5 to 3 minutes where Vayne still won't have her flash. And that's really, really problematic for EXN, because they're going to require Vayne to get ahead at this point. This is still too early in the game for this Vayne to be at peak effectiveness.
That's true. Godzuki still has his own damage in mid lane. Last time he was able to line up a really nice chrono break. But yeah, they do need the other damage threat of Crazy Caps to be a thing as this game goes on. In terms of how the game is going, only 1,500 gold advantage to MOUs in this game. The towers are equal. The only main advantage is the dragons that have gone to MOUs so far.
Yeah, and these dragons are going to be even easier to fight for MOUs when the next one does in fact come up, because two items completed onto Cedrian. He's already starting off this game very well, like we saw from him yesterday, 3-0 and 0. On the other side, 1.5 items completed for Crazy Caps on Vayne. But they are getting some gold now from this bottom lane as they get towers down. They're looking maybe to push for the next one, but I don't think they can get it on their own, just the two of them between Echo and Vayne. Twisted Fate's going to be there, Sivir will be there as well.
So Noxiac in the jungle has spotted Dan, has spotted Mountain, but Sayo and Surgeon are there to clear out the wave. And once the Twisted Fate and Sivir have entered the lane, there is no wave to push with anymore, unfortunately. But the big difference from the last time these two teams met is Crazy Caps, of course, being subbed in over Chewed Up. He's a very similar player, like you were saying in the pre-game.
Yeah.
But the big question is, as we get later on into this game, will he position better than Chewed Up? Because that's really what started to cost them in the later team fights, is his positioning. If Crazy Caps can not have that issue, then maybe that will be the special ingredient that will help EXN win the game.
And that's going to be a real difficult thing in this game. Against a Twisted Fate, with a team composition that you basically want to look towards a 1-3-1, with the Shen, with the Rek'Sai, you're relying on the ability for the Vayne to stay alive when you have people in the other lanes, because it's going to take longer for EXN to group if MOUs are the aggressive team looking for the picks onto Vayne. If Twisted Fate is the first one into that fight with a gold card already locked and lands next to Vayne, it's almost impossible for EXN to react in time. So that is the tricky thing they have to deal with in these fights.
That's true. It may not come down to positioning. It may just be the fact that Maz has so much point-and-click CC that it doesn't really matter how you position. But Cedrian in the mid lane, farming away, doing what Civirs do. drawing even in terms of CS. In fact, Crazy Caps is now actually drawing ahead very slightly. Mountain not stunned against the wall in this Baron pit.
Yeah, Crazy Caps didn't quite get it. Now he wants the 1v1. Ooh, well, it's a Vayne against the Janna. I mean, chasing quite deep, though.
Didn't use the flash this time. Tempered Fade. Whoop. Will lock him in place, though, with Zaz's landing the Shadow Dash. Rest of the team is closing in. Noxiac from the north side, and so is Impaler. Throws out the wild cards. This is going to be the long chase. Turns around, lands the stun. Sayu does not get stunned out. Turns around. Impaler trying to get the knock-up. Turns up with the damage. Gets the Queen's Wrath. Gets him with the Prey Seeker. Still following after. But Sayu is unfortunately out of mana, so he's just kind of delaying the inevitable.
I'm going to interject here because this is just pretty much a done deal. The rest of XNELO are now taking down the dragon. Mouse didn't react to all of that time spent. Mouse did not set up anything near the dragon. Watching how many people were chasing Sayu, they didn't look to get more vision control or deny the dragon, or at least just try and force XNELO off the dragon at all. There were only 2 or 3 people doing the dragon for XNELO, and Mouse neglected to really do anything to stop it.
Yeah, usually in those situations, that was just a glaring opportunity that Mouse could have made. Maybe just all of Mouse were watching Sayu. It's just like, run.
Well, yeah, you have to. Sayu was just doing it to buy time. That's literally all it was for. Noxiac is going to follow Beansu through.
He has a large shield, though, from Stan United, and Zazas has now arrived. Beansu, though, has found Godzuki with a knockup from Mountain as well, who go into Zhonya's. He has Chrono Break. Into the same spot, flashes over the wall, and that should be enough. He is home and dry. And gets the shield as well, for good measure.
Yeah, nice read there from Godbro. Knows his timings there on Echo. If you put the Zhonya's down, you know, if you've been standing in the same spot, it basically turns around to about a second to a second and a half that you have to wait to get that damage down. But he was really only looking for the ability to escape that. So Godbro, we talked about how Echo was likely to be one of his picks and one of his comfort champions. Seems like it is the case for him. Nothing too surprising, but happy to know that some things are right.
Yeah, performed pretty well so far. Just overall, Godzuki, or Godbro, has just been doing really well recently in terms of the games he's played, and has definitely made a triumphant return to competitive play, so that's good to see. Also with Zazas and Noxiac, lots of ex-LCS players in this game trying to reclaim glory. Dan, charging up the slingshot, doesn't go for it. He's also been doing very well in the sack pick. We were kind of questioning it in Champion Select, how much of an impact it will have. Currently, he's assisted in every single one of the kills we've had so far, so definitely working out, I have to feel.
Yeah, I think the key thing to look at with Zach is as long as he can get him through the early game, his setup for team fights is actually really good. His amount of crowd control that comes from his kit, his ability to kind of die once, come back, and still disrupt in team fights is a nice little addition to that. But you really have to be careful early game, and this is what Mouse did very well, was they avoided Dan ever being pressured out by Impaler because of the lane swap. Now Noxiac has to get himself out of a tricky situation for himself, but if Crazy Caps shows in the bottom lane, Mouse just basically engage and look for an objective. Like, that's all they have to do here, because they know they have a numbers advantage. The one person that really doesn't have any kind of mobility or global effectiveness on the game just showed at the furthest point that they could be right now. And that should favor Mouse, but they haven't got the minions there to actually capitalize on it.
And Impaler went back to base, so it was a 3v5 for at least until Impaler could get a tunnel back into the fight with Void Rush. But Mouse do not seize the opportunity. They had Sedgman with Ultimate, they had Beansu with Righteous Glory.
And there's going to be very little opportunity that happens for this XNELO lineup. And Mouse doing nothing with that is going to hamper them more than it'll actually help win them the game. Cedrian gets a little bit more farm from the top lane, but again, Vayne is just quietly continuing. Beansu, that's a lot being used for him, and that is a Maokai.
And that is also a stun, and also a Vayne, who deals % damage, trying to get the last auto. Not quite enough, he is sticking down for an Ignite, though. Sayu joins the party, and everyone is on top of his base, ready for him to come out of the Zhonya's. Godzuki comes in with the timeline and gets him with the phase dive. But meanwhile, Dan is right on top of Crazy Caps. No real damage to follow him up, though, and that results in a 1-0 over to XNihilo.
Yeah, XNihilo are using so much on Beansu. That time they get a little bit gifted the fact that Sayu comes all the way into the fight and is easy to lock down. He's a very squishy target, so they don't really have to worry all that much. You are right, the fact that they are dealing a lot of % health damage here from Echo and from Vayne. but they still, if they're going to invest that much on Binsu every time, that might come back to bite them if they're not careful on it.
Could come back to bite them. Impaler's doing a lot of biting in the mid lane on Rek'Sai, but
is it ferocious?
not quite. But also interesting about Bard, he is currently on over 50 chimes. He's a 40% slow with just autos. Very annoying.
I'm pretty furious that I got that name wrong.
Furious
Nevertheless, yeah, it's not ferocious, it's furious. I was trying not to explain that joke, but it is what it is. You're right about the chimes, though. The more chimes you collect, as obvious as that is, the better that Bard is going to get, which again adds to this later game of EXN Yellow. More damage, the slow as well, coming from the meeps. Just everything that Noxiac is going to have later in this game should help EXN Yellow. But MOUZ right now, they still have this Sivir, which for another maybe 5 or so minutes should still have equal, if not more, impact in this vein if MOUZ play this correctly and start getting the engages. The problem for MOUZ really is that they're not able to creep themselves up towards 5 dragons anymore. EXN Yellow have taken 1. They now have control over the dragon pit. Even though this is an even game on gold, parallel convergence doesn't quite hit.
Oh, he jumps in with a phase dive, and that means he'll immediately have to go into the Zhonya's Godzuki. Not quite the fight he wants just yet. Tempered Fate. Everyone, take another timeout. Binsu waiting for everyone to come out of the Zhonya's effect. Godzuki will go down. Didn't even use the Chrono Break in that one. Dan drops low, but he still has his passive. Crazy Cap's trying to deal the damage, but can't quite get into the fight. And he shows his face for 1 second. Binsu jumps on top of him. Quickly, Quicksilver sashed, but Zaz is trying to zone the back line. But Crazy Caps again had to back up from that. And this is the same situation again, but this time he can't get out of it. And that was a 5-0 for MOUZ. And Zach comes together, and so does the team of MOUZ Esports.
MOUZ with the 5-0 ace against EXN Nihilo will turn their attention to the Baron, and that was a really scrappy fight out of EXN Nihilo. They just couldn't connect with all of their damage, and we talked about how Sivir, this early on, this kind of composition, if they get the right team fight, is still effective for MOUZ. And by God, do they get the right team fight with that one, because Godbro didn't connect with the first parallel convergence. That's a tower and a Baron going down in favor of MOUZ.
You pretty much hit the nail on the head with no one really being able to connect the damage. Godzuki jumped in, and we're actually going to see it right here, and the shortcomings of EXN Nihilo.
Yeah, look at this parallel convergence. Everybody avoids it to begin this fight. Then Godbro goes aggressive into the full tank line of MOUZ. He hits his Zhonya's and tries to connect with more damage. At this point, the Bard ultimate prevents him from actually focusing any target. He really just couldn't get anything down. He even had Chrono Break still available at the end of that team fight. Crazy Caps goes into the fight, opens up a lot of damage down on to Zach, but the passive was still there. And Crazy Caps is just in this positioning where it is so difficult for him to do anything around the side of this fight that the Sivir just cleans up. That's MOUZ getting the 3rd dragon as well. They have gone from being an even game to MOUZ being in absolute control.
And Zaz has landed a perfect taunt in that fight. He landed it with the flash and dash, landed it on it looked like 5 people. But as soon as they come out of the taunt, they're just going to jump on Crazy Caps again, over and over and over again, and there's so many ways for them to take them out. There's the Tempered Fate. We'll be stopping them, keeping them in place, trying to land the parallel convergence, but it's too late. It's not lined up.
And this is the same problem that we just saw in the last game for that Denial had, is with this Twisted Fate, they're able to push towers very quickly, and it's gone from being a game where perhaps MOUZ had a small advantage to now just opening up completely. Now MOUZ are going to be able to push so much faster with this Baron buff. Slight problem for them with the fact that the minion waves are not yet pushing properly for them, so they have to go and push those in. But MOUZ just opened up an inhibitor as well. This is quickly snowballed out of EXN Yellow's control.
We were keeping an eye on Sedrum before this game and before this season, and he's currently 7-0-1.
Yeah.
He is really stepping up his performance. Crazy Caps, however, the other AD carry, Trying to head into this bush. Will be stealthing up. Locks Sayo against the wall. Has the damage. Comes in with one more. Goes into the Zhonya's. And Paler is here to lock up the kill. Flash over the wall. He may be able to get away. Aggressive flash again by Crazy Caps. He also uses Quicksilver Slash. I just don't know if that kill was worth it.
Especially look at what they're losing the other side of the map. There is no wave clear left for EXN. They're basically relying on Time Winder, and that is it at this point to clear. Now Crazy Caps is going to try and get some solo work done. Noxiac needs to try and stop some recalls here. If he can stop one or two, this might still be okay for Crazy Caps. EXN might be able to do something about this, but Dan is still here as well. Godbro, they should have the damage here, but it's going to take a while to actually take down Binsu, especially if Godzuki gets juked like that.
Yeah, this is going to take a while. Dan is there and now goes in to help his ally. Godzuki actually taking a bunch of damage. We use the Chrono Break to get most of his HP back. Maokai eventually dies, and Dan regretting helping his ally, trying to get towards the magical journey that's been laid down by Noxiac, but everyone follows after. Godzuki over the wall will be coming in with the phase dive.
Twisted Fate.
Oh, Sayo does have the parallel convergence, gets the shield on top of himself, even within the Zhonya's effect. Dan as well with Elastic Slingshot tries to get the lockdown onto Noxiac before he takes the tunnel, but he will flash over the wall, does not connect the Cosmic Binding, takes another magical journey, but gets followed after by the card. It will home in on him. Meanwhile, Zazas tries to get away from this fight as well. This is so incredibly prolonged because everyone is just too tanky, but they should eventually lock him down, or maybe not. He gets the Shadow Dash away.
This is just EXN taking fights that they really cannot afford to this late into the game. While this was all happening, Cive and Janna went and killed Crazy Caps. Oh, and they might do it again. So that's how long this fight took, is Vayne died and respawned, and now they're going to lose this bottom lane tower as well. Bottom lane inhib is going down as well. MOUs look like they've been completely rejuvenated from last split.
This is quickly accelerated out of control for EXN. Binsu and Sayo leading the charge, looking for a pick, and now they just rotate towards this mid lane. They have the minion wave pushing in, they have a minion wave in top lane. It's pretty obvious what Mouse are going to go for here.
And this is just the problem with having this very low wave clear team. Zazas caught out, but it won't be all that much. Now they turn their attention to the tower. EXN just cannot get rid of these waves in front of the turret.
Oh, Godzuki gets the lockdown onto two members of MOUs, however. Impaler is there to lock them up, but Godzuki is getting destroyed. Gets the Chrono Break to at least survive the fight, but he doesn't get the damage down. Sayo is completely out of mana, and trying to capitalize it is Crazy Caps. He will eventually get Binsu. Sayo goes into Zhonya's. This time he'll die. There's no flash to get away from it this time around. So that was a 2-0 over to EXN. But at what cost, Stress?
These have been some ridiculous fights the last couple of minutes of this game. EXN end up winning a fight this time because Crazy Caps is with the team and is able to just output damage pretty much for the entirety of the fight. And that's... I don't want to say it's problematic for MOUs quite yet, but it's very obvious now the fact that the Crazy Caps is into this game. He is only 2.5 items completed, but you can see with prolonged damage down, he is able to start dealing with some of the threats that MOUs have. But EXN, they have to play this game so carefully with 2 inhibitors down. Baron coming up in 1 minute 25, Dragon coming up at roughly the same time as well. EXN cannot afford to just go for the Dragon because they give away a Baron, and then MOUs clear up the game because they just don't have wave clear to survive through the minions. Or they try and contest the Baron, let the Dragon go down, maybe try and rush the Baron for themselves if MOUs aren't there, and then hope that MOUs don't get a good team fight.
So far,
it's kind of lose-lose.
Yeah. Well, yes.
There's kind of, it's a 3-option one. It's lose-lose-win. Because the win is that EXN take a decent fight where Crazy Caps is able to just take down all of the targets in front of him.
Oh, completely juked that sapling through the base gate. But yeah, absolutely. But more specifically, this does highlight the major issue that we're seeing with EXN so far. Late game decision making, not good. And they've tried to solve that with the AD carry being changed up and maybe having more security in that. That by itself has not been enough. Crazy Caps hasn't necessarily just been called out randomly. It's just that he hasn't been able to do anything because there's bigger glaring issues with the team as a whole. And
the problem is EXN are trying to start these fights by Godbro, throwing down parallel conversions and jumping into it. Very much so like he would like to get in as a Diana. But remember the comments that Senkux made after the game he played as Echo. It's so difficult to get an offensive parallel convergence stun that you really have to... His words were that you have to be stupid and that the enemy have to be running into you, which MOUs don't seem to be doing. They're respecting it a lot. However, now they're grouped. Tempered Fate comes out. It only hit Beansu.
It all comes down to this. Mountain will be the first casualty of the fight, but Dan will be securing the Baron. Beansu is trying to tank up the back lines, and Zaz is there as well with the lockdown. Godzuki has already gone down. Crazy Caps is the last real damage source from ex-Nihilo.
He's cutting back.
Tries to get the stun down. He lands it. He connects it. So does Dan. And they get the CC out. Crazy Caps is dead. But now this is a 2v2 slugfest between all the tanky members in the game. This is going to take a while, Stress.
And in the meantime, the minions are finishing this game as well for MOUs. There is such a massive stack, and they're already struggling to deal with any minions. The tanks are basically just chasing
Where's Froggen? We need Froggen to deal with the minions.
The Nexus is about to get hit up.
No.
The minions didn't quite end the game. I think that's a surrender.